Imalsha's Research Guide. Research guidance for students and professionals.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Imalsha's Research Guide. This is the episode 2 of the Research Fundamental video series, and today I'm going to talk about a very important topic, type of research. If you haven't watched episode 1 yet, I really recommend you check it out first. In that video, I discuss about what is research, what it means, why we do it, and how it helps us find answers in systematic way. Now that you already know what is research is, and it is time to take the next step to understand the different type of research we can do. Because not every research study is the same, they can differ based on kind of data we collect, the purpose of the study, how we approach it, and the method we use. So in this video, I'm going to clearly explain 4 major ways to classify research with simple explanations and examples that will help you understand each one easily. Alright, let's get started.
What are the types of research?
You might have already noticed that not all research looks the same. Some researchers collect numbers and analyze data with statistics, while others focus on people's experience or opinions. Some studies are done just to build knowledge, while others try to solve practical everyday problems. So, depending on these differences, research can be classified in several ways. But to make things simple, we usually divide it into 4 main approaches, or you can say 4 main bases of classification. Let's take a quick look at what they are. Based on the nature of information, based on the utility or purpose of research, based on the approach of research, based on the method of research. This tells us how we actually conduct the study, whether we use philosophical thinking, historical records, surveys, experiments, or case studies. So, in today's lesson, we will go through each of these 4 one by one, and I'll explain them clearly with simple examples so you can easily understand the difference between each type.
Based on the nature of information.
The first way we can classify research is based on the type of information we collect. In simple words, this means what kind of data we are working with. There are 2 main types here, qualitative research and quantitative research. Qualitative research. These types deal with non-numerical data, things you can't measure with numbers. It's all about understanding meanings, opinions, and experiences. For example, imagine you interview farmers to understand how they feel about using modern farming technology. You might record their answers, listen to their stories, and look for common themes. So, qualitative research answers questions like, why do people behave in a certain way? How do they experience something? It focuses on words and understanding, not on numbers. Quantitative research is the opposite. It is all about numbers and measurement. Here we collect numerical data and analyze it using a statistic. For example, you might survey 200 farmers and count how many use traditional method versus new technology. Or you might calculate the average yield increase after using a fertilizer. Quantitative research answers questions like how much, how many, and to what extent. Okay, now I think it is clear. Basically, qualitative is all about ideas and words. Quantitative is all about numbers and data.
Based on the utility or purpose of research.
The second way we can classify research is based on why we do it. Basically, it is purpose or usefulness. In simple words, what is the research for? There are 2 main types here, basics, fundamental, pure or theoretical research, and applied or experimental research. Basic, fundamental, Pure or theoretical research. This type of research is done mainly to gain new knowledge or develop theories. It doesn't always solve problems right now, but it builds the foundations for future studies. For example, a psychologist studies how memory works in the human brain. At first, this research might not seem useful for daily life, but later it can help improve education method or even assist in treating patients. So this type of research has universal value. It helps us understand the world better. Applied or experimental research. Applied research is more practical. It is done to solve a real world problem or answer a question that has immediate use. For example, an agricultural scientist tests which fertilizer gives the highest crop yield. Or a company studies how to reduce customer waiting time at a supermarket. This type of research has specific utility. It solves a particular issues right now. Okay, now I think it is clear. Basic research develops theory and knowledge. Applied research solves real life problems.
Based on the approach of research.
Now the third way we can classify research is based on the approach. In other words, how we can study things over time. There are two main types here: longitudinal research and cross-sectional research. Longitudinal research. The word longitudinal means long time. This type of research is studies the same group of people or event repeatedly over a period of time. It could be months, years, or even decades. For example, a researcher tracks the academic progress of 100 students from grade 1 until they graduate from university. Or a medical researcher studies how a person's diet affects health over 20 years. Other examples of longitudinal research includes historical studies, case studies, and genetic research. All of these focus on change or development over time. Cross-sectional research. Cross-sectional means across a sections of time. Basically, it's a snapshots of what's happening right now. For example, you survey 500 people today to see how many prefer online shopping versus in-store shopping. Here you are not tracking them over time. You just collect data once. Other examples include survey research or experimental research done at a single point in time. Alright, I think it's clear now. So remember, longitudinal means we study something over a long period of time. Cross-sectional means we study it at just one point in time.
Based on the method of research.
Now let's move to the fourth classification, which is one of the most common ways to group research based on method or simply how we conduct our research. There are five main types here: philosophical research, historical research, survey research, experimental research, and case study research. Let's go through them one by one. Philosophical research. This one is purely qualitative. It is all about concepts, theories, and viewpoint, no experiments or numbers. For example, you might study the idea or justice in Plato's philosophy, or analyze different scholars' opinion about truth or ethics. Here, the researcher doesn't collect any numerical data. Instead, they analyze ideas, arguments, and beliefs. It is more about thinking deeply than measuring things. Historical research. Historical research look at past events to understand the present or even predict the future. It can be qualitative or quantitative depending on the data you use. For example, if you study how housing market across different countries were affected by the 2008 global financial crisis, that's historical research. You might use all reports, newspapers, or government records to collect your data. That type of research helps us learn from the past and make smarter decisions for the future. Survey research. Survey research is quantitative and focused on what's happening right now. It's actually one of the most popular research methods today. Researchers collect data using questionnaires, interviews, or online forms. For example, you could conduct a survey to find out how often shop at global supermarket chains like Tesco or Walmart, or how satisfied they are with the price and quality of the product offered. Now let's talk about type of survey research. Survey research can actually take three main forms depending on what you want to find out. First, descriptive surveys. This describes what's happening right now. For example, McDonald's or Amazon regularly survey customers to measure their current satisfaction level with product delivery or service delivery. Next, correlation surveys. These look for relationship between two or more variables. For instance, few research centers surveys young adults to explore the relationship between social media usage times and the levels of anxiety or depressions. And finally, exploratory surveys. These are used when the topic is new or not much studied before. For example, a university conducts a survey asking teachers, how do you feel about using AI tools like ChatGPT in classrooms? Experimental research. This type is purely quantitative and is mainly used in scientific studies. It deals with future events. In other words, what happens if we change something? For example, you divide a student into two groups. One learns through traditional methods and other learns through a new online platform. Then you compare their exam results. That's experimental research because you are testing cause and effect. You are trying to see what changes when you adjust one factor. Case study research. A case study focuses on one specific case. It could be a person, company, village, or event. It is often used when something is unique or special and deserves a deeper look. For example, studying a rural area in the United States to understand why property valuation there is unreliable. Or studying a company in Germany that successfully adopted eco-friendly packaging. Case studies can be qualitative if you describe or quantitative if you use number. They give us deep insight into a single situation that we can later compare to others. Okay everyone, let's make this simple. There are five main types of research: philosophical research, historical research, survey research, experimental research, and case study. Philosophical research focuses on ideas and theories. Historical research looks at past events. Survey research studies present conditions. Experimental research tests cause and effect, and case study takes a deep dive into one example. Here's a quick recap of everything you learned throughout this video. We have covered the main type of research, their focus, and how each one is used. This summary will help you remember the key points and apply them in your own work or studies. Alright everyone, so to wrap up, we learned that different type of research have different purposes. Before you start your own research project, take a moment and ask yourself three simple questions. First, what kind of data do I have? Second, what's my goal? And third, what's the best method to answer my questions? Once you figure out those, trust me, choosing the right type of research becomes so much easier. Thank you so much for watching today's lesson on type of research. And if you found this helpful, don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe to Imalsha's Research Guide. And don't miss the next episode. See you in the next one.
Stay tuned with Imalsha's Research Guide.